So far it's looking like there's a lot of erosion and a lot of decay to the stones that are making most of them completely unreadable at this point. And I'm seeing that being fairly pervasive across this section here in the middle, and then it seems to get a little bit better around the edges, which seem to be at a little bit higher of elevation, and so that might be some of the reason that over the years parts of this has flooded and has caused more damage to these stones in the middle. I'm not seeing any type of veterans flags over here at any of the markers. I'm having to be really careful. Here is a marker that's all but gone. And this here is sort of a mystery that I've talked about before, and it almost appears that someone might have come and like stolen the top for some reason, but actually what really happened most likely is that this fell off at some point and into the mud, and then over the years was completely buried. And right in line with the stones that were pushed over is this one here, one of the amazing custom tree markers. And again, an incredibly heavy stone, which seems to have been knocked over, I would say, at the hands of people. Again, I just can't figure any other way. So you can see a few trees that are in the stages of falling over that could potentially cause damage like we've seen here. So there still is a possibility that it's not caused by human hands. Seems to be quite a bit of destruction here so far. Doesn't even look like a lot of the names are going to be visible. So far it's just looking like a big pile of rubble almost everywhere. And pretty much the same thing at the back here, just piles of chunks of stones. I'm seeing one that seems to be legible right here. Let's see how old it is. It's looking like it's the 1860s or the 1880s, so it could have been. If it's the 1880s, I would say it could be a Civil War vet. However, at 88 years old and passing away in the 1860s, I would say it's unlikely that he would have been a vet of any sort. This one here is definitely fallen over. You can see the mud from where somebody picked it up. Wow. You can see that and some of the sections have been replaced with this wire fencing. But you can tell at one point somebody had spent a lot of money and a lot of time to make this place look nice. It's such a shame seeing what it's come to. This here is definitely a Civil War veteran, so no one from any veterans organization has been coming out here to lay any type of markers down or flags or anything like that. So that's really sad. One of the few headstones that's actually still looking decent. The only problem is it's laying down on the ground. And this looks like a family section here. You can see even the very, very large granite stone has been knocked off of its base due to erosion. And this here may have been a pinnacle stone, and it is completely gone now. Most likely just underneath the ground. Indiana Cavalry, which is something I don't see very often. It's usually an infantry grave. And that's kind of neat to see, and it's still standing. However, there's no flags, no GAR markers, nothing. And you'd think it would at least have a GAR marker. And this is a hand-carved headstone. You can barely see the inscription of somebody's initials right here. And it definitely looks like they took a piece of stone that they maybe had on their property and carved it out. And there's already lots of destruction. See, most of the graves are toppled over in these first few rows here. Again, one of those places where I wasn't expecting it to be quite so large. And up ahead is a great example. I went to recently a cemetery up on a hill, and one of these was still standing, and I had remarked how amazing it was that it was still standing. And you can see here that it has fallen down along with one right here too, which has been partially buried now. So let's venture over here to the edge and see what we can see over the side. And perhaps there is a few things that have fallen down the hill over time. Maybe some things are exposed, and that is quite a long ways down. Was not expecting it to be that far. That has to be a good 50 or 60 foot drop down there. I'm not seeing any graves so far. I am seeing some stones coming up here that are getting closer and closer to the edge. So maybe this row here is where they were describing. It'd be a lot better if I could get all the way down there. Might have to see if there's a way for me to drive around and possibly like hike around. I don't know if I'll be able to or not. I'm just going to continue walking this line here and try and spot what they were seeing. It's almost one of those scenarios where you kind of hope you find it, but then again you kind of hope you don't. And there has to be hundreds, if not thousands, of graves here. It's a huge place. And everything seems to be incredibly historic. Hearing voices somewhere. There are nearby houses, so it's probably just that. This right here is coming fairly close as well. And even right here, there is actually a few that are starting to fall down the hill here. It looks like a big chunk here, and then you can see a very large stone right here that is starting to slide down the hill, and even down here is another chunk. And the base stone for this is right here, and I think that's the middle section, and then the smaller piece is actually the topper. This is actually really steep, so I want to be incredibly careful. I can't tell if that's another piece or what exactly that is actually. It's definitely not the top of this pinnacle stone right here. But you can see we've made it not too far down the hill. And this is the direction we're going to head. I don't see anything right away. But based on what we've found already, it wouldn't be surprising to find more. Definitely appears to be a few different headstones here that have broken apart and been scattered about over the years. There's so many little hidden corners, little areas you would never even see from when you first drove up, that it's very possible that we still might locate some evidence of these eroding graves. I can't tell if that's a marker. No, it actually looks like a section marker from a family section has been marked off and would have originally had more poles. You can see over here is where the front pole would have gone and connected to this hole right here. Wow. So there are burials back here, for sure. I don't know what else that would be, because it perfectly matches every other time that I've stumbled upon the family sections that have been marked off with the exact poles that we see here in the woods. It was a really windy day, so I apologize if the sound's a little bit off in this video. Kind of see that most of these stones are just completely destroyed. Somebody has definitely come in and done a little bit of cleanup work though. There's 1, 2, 3 other graves, making 4 total graves here, and all of them are actually starting to sink, besides what appears to be this last one. Seems to be doing pretty well. And the same thing has happened in this area too, just this massive space all the way down to the end, and every single one of them is sunk in. The writing on this one is in really incredible shape. I'm very impressed with this one. Out of all the stones here, I'd say this one fared the years the best. It appears that this was once the part, or the top piece to this base stone here, which somebody has just kind of laid these pieces here, which I really don't think have anything to do with this particular monument, because I think that this piece right here is actually the middle piece. See that this one here is in such rough condition that they've literally just had to stack the remaining pieces on top of each other. Can barely even tell that there was once just like a pipe of some sort underneath to mark off this particular area. And then continuing on over here, you can see, just like the previous one, it's completely fallen apart and just been stacked up. think the other incredible thing about this place that I'm seeing is that unlike a lot of historical cemeteries that are cared for, this place doesn't have a lot of replacement stones. And this is incredibly strange. All it says is Roy, and no date, nothing else. Maybe it was just a place marker that somebody had intended to replace at a later date, but they had never been able to do it. Definitely here we have some pieces that used to be, it looks like some sort of post, maybe just fence post. Could have been used for the barriers to the different family areas, possibly. Looks like somebody's brought out some new pipe maybe to lay down as well. I've been here once before, to film that is anyway. I've been here several times before I started YouTube. So this is a Civil War era graveyard here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just walk all the way back and start back here. It's definitely another one of those places that you can kind of tell there's a lot of unmarked graves. There's a couple graves right in here that no longer have any stone associated with them, and just a lot of destruction and decay in general. But it's still a very beautiful place, and I've always enjoyed coming here. And quite a few veterans are buried here, so it's quite a historical place. I thought it'd be very interesting to come during the winter. I'm trying to be careful because, as you can see, like, there's a stone right there, and I don't want to step on anybody's stone inadvertently. One of the things that's hard to notice during the summer with all the leaves is that there's actually quite a few hidden graves inside of these bushes here, which are so overgrown since the 1800s or whenever they were planted that it's almost impossible to see through them at all during the summer months. And these are all thorn bushes, or most of them are. So it's really difficult to get up close. You can see over here, I've never even noticed before, there's actually a thin marker that's leaning up against the tree. And sort of like the Hatfield Cemetery that I recently visited, there's a, well, at least what used to be a very large pinnacle that would have been in the very middle here. And as you can see, like, this one here isn't even in that terrible of condition, but it is completely off of its base and being leaned up against this other stone here. I'm not sure what the reasoning is behind that. Perhaps the base was just too damaged. And this here is definitely a veteran grave. You can just barely make out at the bottom in the middle the Indiana infantry markings. And a lot of these this time of year are just like this. I don't want to try and clear any of them out just for fear of further damaging them. Here you can see that they've actually placed some stones where the ground has begun to erode away, and I think that was in an effort to prevent the stone from falling this way. And it seems to have worked, although the only thing I'm noticing is that the top little part here is missing. Wow, there's more than a few in there. You can see possibly, it's really difficult to tell on camera, I'll try and get a better angle. What appears to be 3 or 4 different stones back there. So there's even more on this side. And this is the view from the other side of the bush. And you can see a lot clearer from over here. There's still this one in the center, which you can kind of see right there. It's completely surrounded. Now, as I've said a lot of times, it's sad that they decay, but it really, in a lot of ways, does look very beautiful, especially this time of year with the snow. It's been a beautiful, beautiful day to go out exploring.